Hey y'all, my name is Rebecca and I'm an MSW intern with the Family Enrichment Center, and today I'm going to be talking to y'all about what is stress and some stress management tips for you guys as parents as well as for your kids, especially during this time right now of COVID-19 and this pandemic. It is very stressful on y'all as parents and on your kids, especially with school being out and not being able to go to work every day and things of that nature. So I decided to talk to y'all today about some stress management tips and help you guys define what is stress. If you have any questions or comments or anything or concerns, you can always post that below this video on the Parent Support Group Facebook page, and those can be actively answered for you, as well as putting some resources on there that you can go to when you're stressed, and I can touch base on that a little bit in this video. I'm going to start with what is stress, and I have this visual aid right here for y'all. We can always put this on the Parent Support Group Facebook page for you guys to look at and get a better view and zoom in on it better than what I'm just holding at it right now, but we're going to be reviewing this first. So to get into it, we can talk about first what is stress. So stress is a state or mental or emotional strain or tension that results from very demanding circumstances. So if the circumstances are very demanding, then that stress is just our automatic response from our nervous system. When those circumstances are demanding, we automatically get stressed. So that's just our body's response to it. About 75 to 90% of all illnesses that we have is stress related. So if we get a handle on that stress and know how to get a handle on our stress, then we can have a healthier and longer life. If we don't know how to handle our stress, then those stress-related illnesses will increase and increase and increase. So it's really important for you guys to know as parents how to handle your stress. And of course, the most important aspect of our stress is our ability to handle it. So the better we handle our stress, the more we can decrease our stress and know how to decrease our stress. But the worse we are at handling our stress, the more our stress will increase and so forth. So it's really important to know that. Stress affects our body, mind, our emotions, and our behavior. And within this little chart right here that we can also put on the Parent Support Group Facebook page, it gives you just examples of things of how you know it's stress on your body, on your mind, on your emotions, and on your behavior. So some ways you know that your body, that you're stressed based on like your body is you get headaches, muscular twitches, fatigue, skin irritations, and things of that nature. When your mind is stressed, you start to worry, you have muddled thinking, impaired judgment, nightmares, you're very indecisive, very negative, things of that nature. When you're stressed, you can play that role on emotions. You know, you're stressed when you have a loss of confidence, you're more fussy, you're more irritable, you're alienate yourself more, you're more apprehensive, and things of that nature. So you know that's when your emotions are stressed. And when it comes to behavior, when that's stressed, you're very accident prone, you're drinking more, have more insomnia, more restless, and things of that nature. So that's how you know. And those are the four main core things of stress: is your body, mind, your emotions, and your behavior. And I can definitely have this posted on the Facebook page for you guys to zoom in on more and have this as a visual aid, just so you guys know what stress is and things of that nature. It's also really important to know that you are in control of your life, and you are the one that can express your stress, and you're the one that can decrease your stress, and you're the one that can handle your stress. So it's always important to know that you can control that. It's always up to you guys as parents to control your own stress. So it's really important. And as parents, you guys actually have more resources to handle your stress than your kids do. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but that's really important to know. So for us to get into next, we can talk about some stress management tips. And managing your stress, I know, is a lot easier said than done, but there are some steps that you guys can take in order to decrease your stress, and this can also help you play a factor in how to help your kids decrease their stress. But right now, we're going to focus for you guys as parents, how you guys can decrease your stress. So the number one thing in decreasing your stress is you have to identify what your stressors are. So a good way to identify what your stressors are is you guys can take a stress journal. You can start one. If you're not a big journal person, then, you know, you don't have to necessarily do a journal, but it actually really does help. So the first thing to do is identify those stressors. So start a stress journal. And every time you feel stressed, just keep track of it in the journal. Put the date at the top. Put all that happened that day that made you stressed. And keep that as a daily log. Like put what caused your stress. How did you feel physically and mentally when you were stressed? How did you act in response? And then how did you make yourself feel better from that stress? And then as you start logging it on a daily basis, so you can go back in that journal week by week and see that all your stress and how you handle it has a pattern. And when you realize that it has a pattern, you can go back and understand, oh, well, that's how I handled it this time, and I continuously handle it like this, and that's what makes me more stressed. So maybe I should approach it a different way to handle my stress. So it's just a good way to see that you have patterns and common themes when you struggle with stress. So that's really important then. That's a really good reason to have a stress journal. If you guys aren't big journal persons, you can always take different approaches, but that's a really big approach that really helps. The next thing is to avoid unnecessary stress. Saying no is such a big thing that can alleviate your stress. If you always constantly say yes and people expect yes from you, then you're just going to get more stressed and stress other people out. So learning how to say no is a really good stress management tip. So if you just don't want to do it, say no. Like, you do not have to be expected to say yes. So that's a really big stress reliever, is just by saying no. When you say no, you just get that weight lifted off your shoulders, and you're like I said no, like I decreased all the stress from just saying no. So it's really important. And know your limits with that. Like, know and stick to them. Don't waver just because, like they're your friend or they really need your help or what have you. Like, know your limits and stick to them. It's really important. And that can alleviate your stress too, just by knowing your limits. Avoid the people that stress you out. That is such a big thing about stress management, is just avoid those people and situations that stress you out. Don't hang out with that person or communicate with that person that day if you're already stressed and you know they're going to stress you more out. Just don't do it. As crazy as it sounds, another good stress management tip is physical activity. As crazy as it sounds, exercise is actually a really huge stress reliever. A lot of people think it makes you more stressed, but it actually decreases your stress level. And that can be in the form of walking, running, swimming, dancing, cycling, and aerobics. And those are very, very, very effective. So as crazy as it sounds, physical activity can help you relieve your stress. The next one would be connecting to others. So spending quality time with another person. I know right now during COVID-19, we can't be in a big group of people and things like that with our family and friends and stuff of that nature. But especially with COVID, we can do FaceTime calls if you guys have, or a Zoom call or anything like that. You guys can do, or just a call on the phone. And that's a really good way to spend quality time with another person. And when you're talking with these people, keep in mind that they're not supposed to be fixing your stress. They are supposed to just be helping you, like, there to talk through things, and they're just there to be good listeners. They're not there to necessarily help you fix your stress, and by the end of the call, your stress isn't supposed to be alleviated. They're just there to help you connect and to alleviate and get everything out that you want to get out, and just to vent to them, essentially. They're not supposed to be there to fix your stress. They're just supposed to be there to listen and potentially put in some input, but it's always up to you in order to know how to handle your stress. So that's really important to know. The next thing is make time for fun and relaxation. So that's simply by self-care. Self-care, self-care, self-care. That is preached a lot, I know, to you guys as parents, but it's really important. And even if that's just setting aside 30 minutes to relax by doing yoga, meditation, or deep breathing, make sure to take that time for you. If you're not taking care of yourself, it's going to be a lot harder for you guys to take care of your children if you're not taking care of yourself first. Taking care of yourself is so, so, so important. So always remember that. And that leisure time does not have to be super long. Like I said, it could be 30 minutes a day. Set aside that time, read a book, do yoga, meditate. Whatever you do as your leisure time, take that time for yourself, because self-care is super, super, super important. And that's a really big stress reliever as well. The next thing is manage your time better. Just prioritize those tasks that you have on a daily basis and make a list of the tasks that you have to do, like right then or that day. And then you can tackle those in order of importance. But if they're not important that day or do not need to be done right then, do not put those on your list for the day, and they can be done the next day. And when you shorten your list, it alleviates your stress on a super amount. So just prioritize those tasks. And you can always break those projects into smaller steps too. Like, you don't have to tackle the whole task in one day if it stresses you out, but break that project into smaller parts and think in your head, well, I can do this part today, but to complete it, I complete the rest tomorrow, just to alleviate your own stress. So it's important to break that stuff down. Another good thing about stress management tip is maintaining balance with a healthy lifestyle. So that's just by eating healthy, drinking plenty of water. Getting enough sleep at night can actually reduce your stress. When you don't get enough sleep, you wake up the next morning and you're super duper stressed because you didn't get enough sleep, and then you have all these tasks that you have to complete the next day. So that's really important to note as well. And reducing your caffeine and sugar intake actually reduces your stress too. When you intake a lot of coffee and caffeine and sugar and stuff of that nature, your stress just skyrockets. So it's really important to try to reduce that intake. The last thing when it comes to stress management is accept the things you can't change. Some stressors in our lives we simply cannot avoid. So it's really important to know that accept those things that you can't change. You can't change or prevent those stressors, such as a death in your family or a serious illness in your family or with your friends. You simply cannot change those stressors. So it's really important to note that some stressors in your life you can't change, but the ones that you can, it's important to note how you can help change those. If you can't avoid a stressful situation, try to alter it. Always, maybe a stressful situation of somebody has a serious illness in your life that you're close with, or somebody died in your family that was a loved one. So express those feelings, be more assertive, and communicate your concerns in that kind of situation. So that's really important to note as well. So accepting the things you cannot change is a big, big, big one in stress management. So those are some tips for you guys as parents. Now I want to move on to how to help your kids handle stress. I know a lot of you guys as parents are thinking, I have more stress, like my kids don't have stress at all. That's actually false. Kids actually do have a lot of stress. You may not think about it as parents that your kids have stress, but they truly do. So we can go ahead and get into that. So it's a very big misconception as well that children don't have stress, but they actually do. They have a lot of stress, and you might not think about it completely, but I can go ahead and dive into that with you guys today. So one big area of a child's stress is their home. So that could be a single parent family, one of their parents are unemployed or both their parents are unemployed. There's violence at home. There's a strict family. There's parents who don't care. There's parents who care too much. There's parents that are too busy. There's parents that have multiple partners. And then there's parents that have drug and alcohol problems. Home life for a child is so stressful. And just by what I just talked about, those aspects of parents and like their parents' lives, those affect the children, because sometimes if both their parents are unemployed, the kids are stressed about where's my next meal coming from. If their parents are never involved, the kids can have neglectful situations. If their parents have drug or alcohol problems, that could be a sign of child abuse or neglect as well. It's super, super important. And home life for a child is super, super duper stressful. So just home life in general is a stressor for children. You guys might not think about that as parents, but it's a really big thing for kids. The next thing is community. So peer pressure to kids. There's peer pressure to do everything adults don't want kids to do. There's a high crime community, pressure to join gangs, drug dealers, homeless sleeping outside your door, beggars, panhandlers. So do you guys think that environment's fun? Because it's really not for kids, and that's a really big stressor on kids too, is to see that kind of stuff in their community and things of that nature. So that's a really big stressor. Just community within, that's for kids is a big stressor. Another big stressor for kids is school and school violence. Children experience stress daily at school, and that stress of potential violence at school. You know, we hear about the school shootings and things of that nature. That's a really big stressor for kids. To get good grades for kids is a really big stressor as well. To do well in school is a really big stressor, because kids have a lot of anxiety when it comes to school and things of that nature. So it's really important to note that school and school violence is a super, super big stressor for kids. Another big stressor for kids is their self. Each school-age child has to deal with the realities of their own physical growth, changing attitudes and beliefs, developing skills, and their wannabes. So those are all really big stressors for kids as they grow and become older and things like that. Like that is very stressful for them. Like their self is very stressful. So for you guys as parents, there is some stuff you can do to help your kids alleviate their stress. So now you guys have to remember, as parents, you have more resources and skills and abilities to handle your stress than kids do. So as parents, there's a lot of stuff you can do to help your kids. So one thing to do for your kids is be a role model. When your kids see you guys doing healthy things to relieve your stress, the message is clear to them that it's important to take good care of yourself. If you guys as parents are not doing healthy things to relieve your stress, then your kids are going to think, oh, well, it's not important to take care of myself. So it's really important to show them healthy ways to relieve their stress, so they know it's important to take care of yourself. Another thing that you can do with your kids is do things as a family. You can do family outings. That's a really big stress reliever. Like that could be physical activity, go to the park, go swimming whenever it's nicer outside, go on a walk, take a short trip, and get the kids' input as well. Like when the kids are stressed, they want to do certain things, so get their input. Like ask your kids, what do you guys want to do to relieve your stress today? or what have you, then that gives them the input, and then they can relieve their stress that way as well. As crazy as it sounds, establishing routines also is a really big stress reliever for kids. So your kids would know, oh, I have to do this at this time, and then I do this, and then I do this. And every day it sets them in a routine, so they're not as stressed. So they're not unexpected of what they have to do that next day. It's a routine. Tell your kids power stories. Power stories help children relax by listening to a recap of all the wonderful things they've done that day. So always praise your kids for being and for doing. So just by telling them the power story within that day, it relieves their stress and they go, oh, like I did this good today. I was praised for being and doing. Praise, praise, praise is super important. Same thing with communication. You should be communicating with your kids and praising them always. In every aspect of their life. Encourage sports and the arts, getting physically active outside or doing things that express themselves. That's super important. It's a really big stress reliever for kids too. So that's another great thing you can do as a parent. It's a super great thing you can do as a parent. And actually, massage, back rubs are wonderful ways to help children relieve their stress. So stress is retained in the body, and there's tight muscles, back and neck aches and headaches, and those are all a sign of tension. So by doing that for your kids is a really big stress reliever as well. So then again, like I said at the beginning, hopefully you guys now know as parents that your kids do have stress, and those are some ways that you can help your kids with stress. There's also a during COVID-19 a stress management guide that I sent, and we're gonna put that on the parent support group Facebook page for you guys as well. It's a really good visual aid, and it just tells you some ways that you can help your kids during this pandemic, and just some stress management tips as well. And you guys can as well use those stress management tips. They're not just for kids, but you guys, it's a really good way to help your kids during this time. So if you guys, like I said, had any questions, you can always comment that below on this Facebook post of this video that I did for you guys, and we can actively answer those questions and things of that nature. I also was going to say there are some things that you guys can do when you become stressed and some places to go. I know that some of you guys might have therapists at Life Skills. That's a good person to reach out to. Go to Life Skills. Life Skills has a lot of different aspects of things that you guys can work with, and there's a lot of therapists, and they're really awesome, and they can help you work there. And then as I think of more things that we can always post those on the Parent Support Group Facebook page and just get you guys like a list of the addresses and phone numbers and things like that during this time and places you can go during this pandemic. So I hope you guys learned something today. And like I said, if you have any questions, you can always put those down below. So have a good day, y'all.